Chapter 27, in which Mrs. Wang quarrels with her husband and Ni Ting Chu finds his brother. Bigfoot went home to report that Mrs. Wang was willing, and Shen Tianfu announced this to QA when he arrived next morning for news. "My wife went over and had a long talk with her," said Shen. "The woman's more than willing. But we told her she'd have no father-in-law or mother-in-law, so don't let Mrs. Pow take the betrothal presents herself. If you bring 4 trinkets tomorrow, I'll send my wife across with them. Then as soon as the day has been chosen, the bride can be carried over." QA went back to his mother-in-law. "It's a fact that the widow has several hundred taels of silver," he told her, "but she's something of a shrew, and may bully her husband. Still, that's their affair. It needn't worry us. He's got so above himself that he needs a scold to keep him in his place." Having decided in favor of the match, she sent for Pao Ting He Se and told them to ask Shen Tianfu and Qin Sufu to be his go-betweens. "People of a modest means like ourselves should find a bride from a poor family," said Ting He Se. "A woman like this is likely to make trouble." "You poor good-for-nothing fool," jeered his foster mother. "Anyone can see that you're a pauper's brat, the way your mind runs on poverty. You'll die of poverty yet. All those chests and cases of hers will make a fine show when you've married her. What do you know, you fool?" Ting He Se dared say no more, but asked QA to go with him to call on the go-betweens. "After all your kindness, mother, not a word of thanks do you get," declared QA. "If he's going to be so difficult, I'm blowed if I'll help him." Mrs. Powell reasoned with him. "Ting He Se doesn't know any better," she concluded. "Don't let what he says annoy you." Then QA agreed to go with him. The next day they invited the go-betweens to a feast, but because Ting He Se had to go out with his company, QA helped entertain the guests for him. Mrs. Pow produced 4 gold and 4 silver trinkets which had belonged to Ting He Se's first wife, and gave them to Shen Tianfu as betrothal presents. Shen pocketed half of them for himself, giving 4 to Bigfoot to take to Mrs. Wang, and when the widow had accepted them, the wedding was fixed for the 13th of the 10th month. On the 12th, her 4 chests, 4 wardrobes, and 2 double beds were carried over with her basins, buckets, and pewterware. Her two maids came over by seat and chair with the furniture, and when they saw Mrs. Pow, they wondered who she could be, but did not like to ask. After setting the room in order, they sat down to wait. The next morning, QA's wife arrived by seat and chair, and Mrs. Pow asked Qin Sufu's wife and pockmarked Qian's wife to escort the bride to the house. Towards evening, the bridal chair arrived with 4 pairs of lanterns and torches. The bride and groom went to the marriage chamber, recited the usual phrases, bowed before the decorated candles, drank wine together, and all of the rest of it. At the 5th watch, when it was time for the bride to pay her respects to her husband's ancestors, she was furious to learn that she had a mother-in-law. She kowtowed sullenly a few times without offering tea or shoes, then went straight back to her room. Her maids kept coming out to demand rainwater for her mistress's tea and charcoal for her incense, or to ask the cook to make dumplings or soup for her. They bustled in and out non-stop, and it was "our mistress this" and "our mistress that" all the time. "I'm the mistress here," declared Mrs. Pow. "She's not even the young mistress. Call her the young wife." When the maids reported this, the bride nearly burst with rage. The 3rd day after the wedding, the Pow family invited a number of actors' wives in. The custom in Nanking is for all brides to invite good luck by going to the kitchen on the 3rd day and cooking a fish which stands for fortune. Now the fish had been brought and the fire was ready, but when they asked the young wife to start cooking, she refused to budge. "This won't do," cried pockmarked Qian's wife, bustling in. "Now that you're the daughter-in-law here, you must do what's expected of you." Then Ting He Se's wife sulkily took off her brocade gown, put on an apron, and went to the kitchen. She scraped the fish 3 or 4 times with a knife, picked it up by the tail, and flung it into the boiling pan. Pockmarked Qian's wife, who was standing by the stove watching, had her face splattered with hot water and her gold-embroidered brocade jacket soaked. "Look out," she called angrily, jumping with fright, then hastily mopped her face with a handkerchief. Ting He Se's wife threw down her knife and flounced scowling back to her room, and that evening, when the guests took their places for the feast, she refused to join them. The following evening, Ting He Se came into the bedroom to change his clothes before going out with his company. Because he had worn a tile-shaped cap instead of the gauze official hat all these years, his wife suspected that he was not a provincial scholar after all. Where are you going so late? She asked as he put his cap on. Out on business, replied Ting He-si, and left. What business can that be? Wondered his wife. Perhaps he has to go through the accounts at that shop of his. He was not back till dawn. Why did you have to stay all night in your shop? She asked. What shop? Demanded Ting He-si. I'm in charge of a theatre company. We've just come back after giving an all-night performance. That was the last straw. His wife nearly choked with rage. Falling backwards with a scream, she clenched her teeth and lost consciousness. Ting He-si hastily ordered the maids to revive her with ginger water. But when she came to, she sobbed and screamed, rolled on the ground and tore her hair. Then, wailing loudly, she tried to climb on the wooden roof of the bed and began to sing snatches of opera. Rage and disappointment had made her mad. When Mrs. Pow and her daughter ran fearfully in, they did not know whether to laugh or cry. This is the result of phlegm in her digestive tract, pronounced the doctor whom they called in. Her constitution is weak, she must take some ginseng and amber. Each dose of medicine cost 5 silver cents, and she was ill for 2 years, by the end of which her clothes and trinkets and even her 2 maids had been sold. Then Q.A. and his wife made a proposal to Mrs. Pow. He's only an adopted son who's never been any good, they said, and he's leading us a fine life with this mad wife of his. If things go on like this, our house and capital won't be enough to buy her ginseng and amber. What shall we do then? We'd better turn him out now and disown him. Once we're clear of him, we can live comfortably on our own. When Mrs. Pow agreed and told Ting He-si he and his wife must go. The young man was appalled and persuaded their neighbors, Wang Yu-chi and Chang Kuo-ching, to speak for him. You can't do this to Mr. Pow, they said. Your old man adopted him and he's helped in the business all these years. How can you turn him out? Mrs. Pow immediately launched into a description of Ting He-si's unfilial conduct and his wife's wicked ways. I can't abide him, and that's that, she said. If he stays, then we go. If you must drive him out, said the 2 neighbors when they found they could not talk her round, at least give him some money so that he can start a business. How are they to live if you send them away empty-handed? He came here empty-handed, with nothing but a few mangly hairs on his head, she retorted. I fed and clothed him all these years, and got him 2 wives. Goodness knows how much we spend on that wretched father of his too. I'm not asking for him to pay me back, but he's not going to get any more out of me. Still, you can afford to be generous, said the neighbors. You ought to do something for him, Mrs. Pow. They kept on at her till she had to promise her foster son 20 taels if he would move out. Ting He-si shed tears as he took the money, and a few days later moved into a room Wang Yu-chi had cleared for him behind the shop. 20 taels was too little to form another company of players, and he did not know how to start any other business. So they gradually ate their way through their silver. When it was nearly gone, Ting He-si's wife had to give up taking ginseng and amber, whereupon she grew well enough to sit at home sniveling and scolding. So things went on for some time. One day, when Ting He-si came back from a stroll, Wang Yu-chi hailed him. Did you ever have a brother in Su Chao? He asked. I'm an only son, replied Ting He-si. I have no brothers. I'm not talking about the Pow family. I mean the Ni family at the 3 Arches. Yes, I had several elder brothers, but I was told my father sold them all when they were young, and what became of them I don't know. I'd never heard of one in Su Chao. Just now someone was making inquiries all down the street. He told Mrs. Pow next door, Mr. Ni is looking for his 6th brother. When Mrs. Pow didn't say anything, he came here, and I thought it might be you he was looking for. Were you the 6th son in your family? Yes, I was. When he couldn't find you, that fellow went further on. He should have come back this way. Why don't you wait for him in my shop? Very soon the stranger returned. This is Mr. Ni, Wang Yu-chi told him. What is your business with him? Where are you from? Asked Ting He-si. Who is looking for me? The stranger produced a red card from his girdle and gave it to Ting He-si, who read, The adopted son of Pao Wen-ching of Westwater Gate. Pao Ting He-si, who used to be called Ni Ting He-si, was the 6th son of Ni Sheng-feng, is my brother. Fuck, what? I am Ni Ting Chu. If my brother can be found, bring him to the government. If my brother can be found, bring him to the government hostel to see me. This is urgent. "That's right," exclaimed Ting Hisi. "No mistake about it. Who are you?" "My name is Ah San. I work for your brother." "Where is he now?" "He's an official in the provincial governor's yamen at Suqiao, with a salary of 1,000 taels of silver a year. He's in the government hostel here now. If you are his sixth brother, sir, please come with me." This was a stroke of luck. Ting Hisi went with Ah San to the hostel at Huiqing Bridge. "Would you mind waiting, sir, in the tea shop on the bank?" suggested Ah San, "while I go to fetch my master." Ting Hisi sat there until Ah San came back with another man wearing a square cap, dark silk gown, and black shoes with white soles. He had a short beard and looked about 50. As he entered the tea house, Ah San pointed Ting Hisi out, and the latter made haste to greet him. So you are my sixth brother," exclaimed the stranger, catching hold of him. "Elder brother," cried Ting Hisi. They embraced and sobbed bitterly for a time, then sat down. "Brother," said Ni Ting Chu, "I was in Peking when you were adopted of the Pao family, so I knew nothing whatever about it. After I was 20, I learned how to be a secretary, and I've worked in a number of yamens. Whichever province I was in, I looked for my brothers, but I never found them. 5 years ago, on my way back to Kwangtung with a magistrate, I learned from an old neighbor at the Three Arches that you had been adopted by the Pao family, and that both our parents were dead." At this he broke down again. "The Pao family," began Ting Hisi. "Wait till I finished, brother." Ning Ting Chu cut him short. "These last few years I've been lucky to be with Governor Chi, who treats me very well and pays me 1,000 taels of silver a year. We were in Shantung for some time, and this year he was transferred to Suchu as a provincial governor. Since this is my home province, I hurried here to look for you. I mean to use my savings to buy a house in Nanking and move my wife down from Peking so that we can all live together. I take it you have married too?" "Yes, brother," said Ting Hisi, and proceeded to describe how he had been adopted, how good Mr. Pao had been to him, how the wife he had married in Prefect Hising's yamen had died, and how he had remarried again and been turned away by Mrs. Pao. "Never mind," said Ni Tung Chu. "Where is your wife now?" "We've borrowed a room from one of Mr. Pao's neighbors for the time being. I'll go back with you to see her before we make further plans." Having paid for the tea, they went back together to Wang Yuqiu's shop. And when Wang had greeted them, Ting Hisi took his brother in to meet his wife, who was dressed like any housewife now that all her fine clothes and jewels were gone. Ni Ting Chu took from his purse 4 taels of silver and gave them to her as a present on meeting. At the sight of such a respectable relative, her spirits rose, and she brought in tea herself, which Ting Hisi handed to his brother. "I must go back to the hostel for a while," said Ni Ting Chu, after 1 cup of tea. "But I'll be back very soon to have a good talk with you. Don't go out." When he had gone, Ting Hisi consulted with his wife. "We must have a good meal ready for my brother when he comes back," he said. "Let's buy a duck, a few caddies of meat and fish, and ask Mr. Wang to prepare 4 dishes for us." "Bah, you blockhead," sneered his wife. "Do you think someone living in the provincial governor's yamen will be impressed by duck and pork? He'll come after his meal, of course. He's not interested in your food. No, hurry up and weigh out 36 cents of silver to buy 16 dishes of sweet meats and a few bottles of good sweet wine. That's the way to do it." "You are right, my dear," agreed Ting Hisi. He weighed out the silver, brought wine and dishes, and carried them home. That evening a sedan chair arrived, preceded by 2 lanterns, bearing the inscription of the provincial governor's yamen, followed by Ah San. That evening a sedan chair arrived, preceded by 2 lanterns, bearing the inscription of the provincial governor's yamen, and followed by Ah San. Her brother was back. "I haven't much money with me here," said Ni Ting Chu, when he had alighted and come in. "I've only brought about 70 taels for you." Ah San carried the silver packet by packet from the sedan chair and gave it to Ting Hisi. "Take it, brother," said Ni Ting Chu. Tomorrow I have to go to Suqiao with Governor Chi. I want you to find me a house as fast as you can. Anything from 200 to 300 taels will do. And when you and your wife have moved in, pack up and come to Suqiao. I'll ask Governor Chi to give you my whole salary for this year, to bring back to Nanking as a capital for a business, or to buy some property which will bring in rents." Ting Hisi accepted the silver and offered his brother wine. When drinking, they spoke of all the unhappiness they had known since their family broke up, and were moved to tears. Not till the second watch did Ni Ting Chu leave. The next day, Ting He-si asked Wang Yu-chi to call a house agent to find him a house. Then all the neighbors knew that Mr. Ni, who worked in the provincial governor's yamen, had come to see his brother, and they started calling Ting He-si Mr. Ni instead of Mr. Pao, and addressing his wife too with respect. In half a month's time, the agent found a suitable house in Shi Family Lane near Floating Bridge. It had 3 front rooms and 4 courtyards, and the owner, Sinso Shi, being away from home, was willing to lease it for 220 taels. Having agreed to this price, Ting He-si paid 20 taels down, then chose a day to move in. On that day, all the neighbors brought congratulatory gifts, even Qa contributing his share, so anxious was he to keep in with them. Ting He-si invited guests for 2 days, and redeemed some of his wife's clothes and trinkets which had been pawned. As for her, she began to feel unwell again. Every few days she would send for the doctor and take 8 cents worth of medicine. So the 70 taels gradually melted away. Then Ting He-si packed up and took a boat to Soochow to join his brother. But the wind was against them, and the boat had to be moored by the north shore. On the second day, they reached Yicheng and stopped at Yellow Mud Bank, for the high wind made crossing the river out of the question. Going ashore for a snack, Ting He-si met a young man in a square cap, jade-colored gown, and crimson shoes, who looked him over from head to foot. "Aren't you my Uncle Pao?" asked this youth. "My name is Pao," admitted Ting He-si with much surprise. "May I ask your name? Why do you call me uncle?" "Didn't you marry Mr. Wang's daughter in Prefect He-sung's yamen at Anqing?" "Yes. How did you know?" "I married Mr. Wang's granddaughter. Doesn't that make you my uncle?" "I can't have you calling me uncle," replied Ting He-si with a smile. "Come and drink some tea with me." Entering a tea house, they ordered tea and a plate of Yicheng dumplings. "What is your name, sir?" asked Ting He-si. "My name is Chi. Don't you remember me, uncle? When I took the district examination, I saw you invigilating. That's how I knew you. Later, your father came to dine with us. Have you forgotten?" "So you were Captain Chi's son," exclaimed Ting He-si. "How did you come to marry Mr. Wang's granddaughter?" "After Prefect He-sung's promotion, Mr. Wang stayed behind in Anqing," replied Chi Wei He-sao. "And when my father-in-law had appointed a warden, all the local gentry took him up out of respect for his father. So my family arranged this marriage." "Very good," said Ting He-si. "Is your respected father well?" "He died 3 years ago. What brings you here?" "Inspector He-sun of the Salt Gabble is a classmate of my father's, so I'm going to call on him." "Where are you off to, uncle?" "I am on my way to Soochow to visit a relative." "When will you come back?" "In 20 days thereabout, I expect." If you have nothing better to do when you return, do come to Yangchow, uncle. You'll find my address on the college list, and I'll be your host there." "I will certainly come," promised Ting He-si. Then they parted, Ting He-si taking the boat to Soochow. And no sooner did he go ashore at the west gate than he bumped into his brother's man, Ah San. But to know what Ah San said to him, you must read the next chapter.